We come to order. We have a quorum, and I'd like to welcome visitors, and I'd like to welcome the members, and the people that we can't see out there in the other places. And our newest member, welcome.
Hey,
Sorry, were you waiting for the valet too?
They were Kate.
I had no idea there would be so many people here. Yeah.
So these are big meetings, although they're not all here. So, our first order of business, we are being recorded tonight, correct? Yeah, I don't get to hear it over the computer. And so our first order of business is to approve the DAC meeting summary from our February 8th meeting. Do I hear any corrections? I would like to use this opportunity to speak to something that is I'm a stickler for, is that we start referring to places as though they're named, like that this is the Concord Community Center, or I would prefer that we would not name things unless we go through the process to name them. So
We're not naming anything. We have to call it something.
Right.
So this is the Concord School, the Concord Community Center. We're not saying that's what it's going to be officially called, but we have to refer to it in some way.
right, so it could be community center at Concord, or it could be at the Concord property.
The Concord Complex. That's fine.
There you go. I just know how names tend to stick, and I do believe that the naming of this is a opportunity for the community to participate in, and I don't want to have it get run away, not by anybody intentionally. That was my only thing. So I noticed in the minutes, there were a few places. Yes, Ryan.
No, that's the muted,
Okay,
but you need to talk into it.
okay. So I didn't want to do it. All right, so I agree, Concord property seems to be throughout the entire document, and I think that makes sense, Concord property. That's a pretty standard approach. On the third page under public comment, there's one correction. I think it needs to be correction under Thelma Hagemuller. It says accessible ability park implements. I think that needs to be changed to accessibility. And that's the only correction.
And we can probably change the
Oh,
correct spelling to
accessibility to
rotator.
Yeah.
Rotary.
Right.
Yes, and rotatory.
Yes.
Yeah, there was a few typos.
Right. And so other than the things like the Encore is just calling it the Jennings Lodge Park project, and it's the park at Jennings Lodge from my perspective. So other than that, just as the thing going forward, are there any corrections other than the one Brian made? Okay, good. So, everyone, is there any objections to accepting it with that correction?
I make a motion, we accept it.
I don't think we have to.
No, you just-
Woohoo.
Thanks. So our next item is the LGGP grant proposal for Concord.
All right, and we have some staff coming up to talk about that, the local government grant program, and what we've got going on.
Good evening.
And can you state your name for the record?
Yes, Alex Gilbertson. I use she, her pronouns, and I'm a planner in NCPRD. Thanks for having me tonight. Due to limited time, I am not going to share a slide, but I would love for you to reference your memo and support letter in the packets that were provided to you. Oregon Parks and Recreation Department has opened their 2023 local government grant cycle. It is open now, and applications are due on April 1st, which is before the next DAC meeting, and why I'm here speaking to you tonight. NCPRD is preparing an application for the play area at the Concord Property Community Park. Specifically looking at phase 1. So play area design is currently underway, and we're looking at incorporating inclusive and nature-based play elements in a phased scenario. So phase 1 is we're planning to utilize NCPRD funding and Metro local share funding. Phase 2, if we're awarded this grant, we would plan to utilize the local government grant funding for phase 2 of the play area. This would allow us the opportunity to fully construct the play area as well as leverage NCPRD funding. So tonight we are seeking two things. First, your approval of the local government grant application letter of support for the Concord property play area phase 2. And second, we are looking for your recommendation to the NCPRD Board of Directors for their consideration to approve the grant application submittal. And with that, I will ask if there are any questions.
I don't have any questions, and I actually thank you for putting that together. Thank you for the nice letter that speaks to the need and I think did you want to say
I did.
please?
I think the letter, I think the application's great. I do think there's a sentence in this letter that just bothers me.
You can edit it. I don't know if you got the new one.
That's the one that was with my agenda.
No, it's been edited since then, so
Well, maybe she can explain what she was referencing.
Yeah, so the last sentence of the first paragraph says, it's not factually incorrect. It says board directors are important in representing residents' voices, but we're not sending this letter from the board. So that sentence doesn't make a lot, that we're sending this letter from the DAC. So that sentence doesn't make a lot of sense to me.
I had the
I kind of
same,
think it should come out.
I underlined it too, for the same reason.
Reason. Yeah.
okay.
I also have a comment. I sent it a little late. I apologize. We said needed, on the second paragraph, third sentence at the bottom, it said the livability infrastructure needed for thousands of people who live here. It's actually in those two areas, over 40,000. I think putting that specific number in is more impactful than thousands. So I just, you don't have to make the change. I just think it's a great,
This is your old letter.
I think it's a great,
The edited
yeah.
ones, right?
Now, there's a comment on the third paragraph that I'm heading off ahead on.
Oh,
And I think that's about 40,000.
It's about 41. It's a little over 40.
It's a little over 41.
Yeah, that seems weird.
the other thing I underlined was Jennings Lodge is open.
That's been-
That was changed, yeah.
I figured. Okay.
So we'll revise this and Grover, we'll just have to connect with you to get it signed after.
And those just down the street.
Yep.
Great.
But we still need a motion as.
I'll entertain a motion.
I'd like to make the motion that we approve or yes, approve this letter with the changes to be sent to the NCPRD Board of Directors for recommendations. That's not good.
Okay, well, this letter actually goes to the Oregon Parks and Rec Department.
Oregon Parks and Rec Department.
And a recommendation.
And a recommendation.
And a
They're
recommendation.
all in one motion. I love it. Okay, so is there a second?
I second that.
Okay, thank you, Maureen. Brian moved in, Maureen seconded. Is there any more discussion? You want a poll or just raise hand? We're all in favor. Oh, no, there's people on.
Yeah, we can
online.
probably
So,
just call
we do a poll. Where do we see the people online?
Jessica is the only one that can see them, the way that we've got this technology set up right now.
Well, I'll just sit behind them.
Joel.
Yes.
He's not here. Grover.
Yes,
Bonita. Yes. Ryan.
Yes.
Yes.
Katie.
Yes.
Right, yes. Lisa.
Yes.
And then Ben.
Yes.
I didn't keep track. What was it for?
We have 2 absences.
So the aye, yes. And no abstention, I mean, no, okay, so 9-0. Okay, passed.
We'll get that edited and connect with you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good. That completes the action items. Next item is the discussion agenda, Jennings Lodge IGA updates.
And we just had two for the goal setting, and so we have Heather here to discuss the Jennings Lodge update.
Good evening, everyone. Heather Cook, the Planning and Development Director. I'm just giving a really quick update on the Jennings Lodge Elementary Project IGA. We, as a district, signed this IGA through board approval back in 2020, right before the pandemic. And so we were kicking off the project recently in terms of planning for the project, working with a consultant to get to a negotiated contract, and realized we had a few edits that we needed to make to the IGA. So I just wanted to come here and let you know we're working on that. It mainly centers around two things. One is clarifying hours. It's not really clear in the IGA exactly what hours we can and can't use the shared space. So we're clarifying that. And we also are changing the start of construction by date. It was supposed to be by 2024, but with the pandemic having, kind of triggered a bunch of delays, we're looking at a start of construction by 2025. And that gives us an opportunity to finish negotiating our contract, get into the concept planning and then the design and engineering, and actually be ready for construction. Not have to gun it and skip steps by 2024. So that's all I had, and just wanted to keep you posted that that's happening. The sequence-wise, we will be negotiating the final edits with the Oregon City School District, and then we will be bringing it to the board for approval. And so as soon as we get approval from the board, we can finalize our contract. That also is being negotiated simultaneously. So hopefully the two come together very soon and we can get this project lifted up. That's all I have. Any questions?
I have a couple questions. So I'm not the chair, I'm the representative from sub-area 1, and I'm interested in what kinds of changes are being discussed. I was there when they approved the original IGA, so what kinds of changes are being negotiated, so we can know what changes are expected. That's each one.
Sure. It's those two, other than a clarification around maintenance and programming, it's really about the date change, which is literally 24 to 25, and it's about clarifying hours. So when we signed this with the school district, they were using that as a school. As you might be aware, they moved their population to merge with Candy Lane population. So that program is now there, and with that building vacated, they moved in a program, which the acronym is OCCE. But basically it's community education focused on early childhood and even older kids with summer camps or things like that. So we're just acknowledging that use in the IGA and acknowledging that we need to be really clear about the hours to ensure that we have shared public use. In short, it means that we will get to use the majority of the park 24/7, well, not 24/7, but all hours that NCPRD parks are open, the park would be open. But we still have to negotiate the wording that goes with that. So, and the school is looking for a small area that would be not accessed by the public during their school hours, which are a little different than Oregon City School District hours. So we just want to make that clarification. Overall, I think it's a great change for public access.
Okay. And then my second question had to do with, it was about negotiating the contract. I assume that's for the consultants who are going to. So my understanding is that the contract will have a scope of work. And I'd like to know when we would be able to, given that we're involved with and need to recommend it to the Board of County Commissioners and to the Board of Directors that gets that, when will we get to see what the scope of work is?
Will still be negotiated. The scope goes along with the fee, and we have to still come to agreement on both of those. So once it's finalized, the board will actually need to approve that contract, and that's when it's the final document that's
So
public.
between it being finalized and it being approved, it's a place where.
procurement, we have to follow the procurement laws of, to make sure that we're being impartial and fair. We've developed the scope based on the way contract scopes have to be laid out. You've seen that scope, you've seen the documents. They're public documents, anybody can look at them. But we don't open it up for public comment on that part. The public comment part is once we've got a contract that has been scored and vetted, we put that back to the board for approval. But as far as I'm aware, we don't even have the ability to have interference in that procurement process like that as described. Does that make sense?
It does. And my point was, and not disagreeing with it, but my point was is that our ability to recommend how money is spent to the board of directors, it'll already be signed by them before we get to see it. That was my own different,
I think we still have it coming to the DAC before we would go for final board approval. Is that?
Not necessarily with contracts, but I think we definitely have to go to the board.
Yeah.
That's a must do. I mean, that's what's required according to procurement over a certain threshold. And I think that threshold is 150, so we'll be well over that.
Okay, so we still don't know whether it'll come here before it goes to the board. Can we?
Again, Grover, in all other procurements, we don't do that. I mean, we don't come to you guys with every contract that we put out for bid, and we do hundreds of them. So that it's just not part of typical government process to get a advisory board involved on bid procurement specifications. And again, we can discuss this off the board after,
Okay.
and get clarification from others.
Okay. And that's fine.
It's pretty typical that when an agency goes to have projects, they approve the projects through the board and the board of, like, the people that make the decision. Once that's approved, it's turned over to the professional to take that general approach. Turned over to the professionals to move with it, get it going, and do their job. I've never ever brought a scope of work to advisory board or a decision board. Yeah, because it's already been told to me, well, this is generally what we're looking for, and they've agreed to it, and we've already done that. So we would then just turn that over, let them do the scope, let them use their professional expertise to get the project moving.
And the scope in the bid documents are very broad based, as again,
Yeah.
we've shown you the documents, you've seen the scope, it's very broad. We don't say specifically, we expect this as an outcome, or that is not, it's here's what we expect you as a consultant to do, very broad, and then the consultant will come in, and as we've talked about, we have public engagement, for the design part of it. But the scope of the bid itself is not the scope of what we're looking at. Does that make sense? It's different, it's very broad.
Right. Without speaking about a specific one, but I know other ones where contracts have gone out and what came back, and when the people in similar position to ours saw what the bid brought in and what they asked them to do, it really, I'm not saying it's true here, but it didn't fit.
Ben has his memories.
Oh, okay, yes, Ben?
Oh, yeah, thank you. Can you hear me okay? Oh, great. I was gonna ask if this is different than the Riverside Elementary School project that was an RFP came out for, correct?
Yeah, this is the Jennings Lodge Elementary project.
Okay, because I don't see the Riverside Elementary School project on the capital improvement list. That's fiscal year 22-23. And I'm curious if that bidding was successful for that design portion of the project.
We have not done any work on a Riverside.
We're not familiar with Riverside
Oh.
project.
I thought that was what I guess I was confusing the Jennings Lodge Elementary School project with the Riverside Elementary School. I apologize.
Oh, no worries.
Okay.
Gary, can I ask a follow-up question?
We did-
I'm curious, Heather, how many proposals did you all receive? Just trying to understand what the climate's like out there.
Sure. I'm not actually sure with procurement rules. Does anyone know? Is that
No.
public information?
Yeah, again, I'd be hesitant on answering that because we haven't awarded a contract or anything. It is in procurement right now.
Okay.
Thanks, Ben, but please remind me and I can share that information.
And thank you, Ben. Yeah, so I'm not trying to change the process, but I just want to keep advocating for us being able to be informed, to be able to do our job, which is to advise the board of directors on things, funding, parks, construction, all those things. That's what our board of directors approved purposes. So that's all, just checking. So we'll see how it plays out. Thank you for that. Any other
Thanks.
questions for Heather? You're not leaving, are you? If you are, I want to thank you now.
Oh, no, I was just that.
Because you're always
I was
gone
just
when
ready
I
to
get-
get something else.
And I finally get around to the stuff you submitted, you're always gone. So
Oh, no worries.
I want to thank you for your work and I'll look forward to getting to that in a bit.
Sounds great. Thanks.
Okay, next item is the Concord Property Park.
All right, we're bringing Alex back up for that. And again, we are already behind schedule just to be the timekeeper.
Thank you. Aaron will be up there as we go.
I'll be super fast. Alex Gilbertson. So, the official materials haven't been created yet, but I did include a handout in your packets that outlines the upcoming community engagement events for the Concord Property Community Park and Playground. On Saturday, April 8th, from 11 to 1 p.m., we will be holding an in-person design presentation here at Concord, paired with an informal outdoor gathering that will allow attendees to engage with staff, ask questions, provide feedback. Following the community engagement event, the gathering, we will have a virtual Q&A session on Thursday, April 13th in the evening from 6:30 to 7:30 p.m. And this is for anyone that couldn't attend the in-person event. The DAC, of course, is invited and encouraged to attend both of these events. And ideally, we will start promoting this next week. So we would love your help also to promote these events as well. If you would like to do your own engagement within your sub areas, we can provide you with a concept plan and an FAQ sheet after April 8th. And so what we would be looking for is between April 8th, I would be happy to receive any feedback that you hear from your own individual efforts by Monday, April 17th. So that would give approximately an additional 10-day window for engagement. That's all I have at this point. Is there any questions on engagement for specifically the park and playground for the Concord property?
When did you want her input by?
I would be happy to receive it by Monday, the 17th of April.
Also after these two events.
Yes,
Okay, good.
Yeah, that's why I got confused with that.
yeah.
It had to be before.
Oh, no. So we can provide you materials to support your engagement after April 8th.
Great,
Okay,
thanks very much.
great.
Thank you, Alex.
Okay, with apologies to Aaron. With goal setting, 9 minutes.
That's right.
So, this is the part where I have to say magic word. So,
You have to say the magic words, yeah.
yeah, so we are, not going to be functioning as a district advisory committee during the next quarter. Here, we're going to be more like a subcommittee or a breakout group or whatever. So we're not going to use standard virtual.
Right.
Maybe suspend the order of the process.
Okay, we'll do that. Turning it over to Aaron. Thank you.
All right. Hi, everyone. For those of you who don't know me, I am Erin Ruff. I work with Resolution Services at Clackamas County, and I am here to facilitate your goal setting process. Joel and, sorry, that's okay. Joel, and Lisa, I'm gonna be using this board behind you. So, either slide on over to that side or pull your chairs around to this side. And Ben and Katie, I'm working on getting you set up so that I can see you. All right. All right, Betty, can you hear me? Can you give me a thumbs up if you can hear me okay? Okay, I got a thumbs up from Ben, but not, I got two thumbs up from Ben, okay.
Just record for
And
you
I
all.
think I need to bring one of these closer. So the recording picks me up. All right. There we go, all the tech in place. So I gave you all some homework that Jessica sent out for us last month after I met y'all online. And your homework was to imagine that you are a responsible ancestor for 7 generations from now. And to have effective and efficient parks that you want to have. So tonight, where we're gonna start is, we're not gonna start 7 generations from now, because that's a little too far in the future, but we're gonna start kind of scary far in the future. We're gonna start at 50 years. And what I wanna know is what do, and Ben and Katie, I have you here, so I should be able to see you, but if I miss you, Jessica, will you?
And they can just unmute and we'll hear them on speak.
Fantastic. And that's really what I want to do. What I want to do is have this be a brainstorming, and not have to manage hands up and down unless I need to. So, and we're going to start with no ideas are bad ideas. We just want to start with like, what do Clackamas parks, what do healthy Clackamas parks and recreation areas look like 50 years from now?
They're integral to neighborhoods.
They're integral to neighborhoods, great.
They're the primary gathering space for all of our neighborhoods.
Okay. Primary gathering space. What else?
They have more funding than 53 cents per thousand.
All right, let's say it positive, right? What does the funding look like?
It's abundant.
Abundant funding.
Sell some bonds.
All right, what else?
Abundant tree.
Abundant trees.
Oh, yeah.
There's a greater awareness of the programming, recreation programming and the parks themselves, but the recreation programming and services provided by NCPRD.
Okay,
I don't know how to make that a positive spin.
well, you got.
Greater,
the
a
team member.
robust,
So it's robust, it's not
Yes.
greater than it is now. What does it look like when it's firing on all cylinders?
I mean, I can only come up with kind of examples when you got me on the, like, everyone knows that the Milwaukee Community Center serves the entire NCPRD Parks District and is aware of all the tremendous services that it provides, and
Okay.
programming it provides. Hopefully at that point, the same could be said for the Concord Community Center in whatever name iteration it may or may not have at that point.
Okay, so everybody knows about services and programming across the district. Anything else?
Yes, oh, I thought you were asking, because I know, I don't think that's the problem.
Right, but 50 years from now, everybody.
Everyone that pays, yeah, they know, and outside of this, yeah,
Okay.
absolutely.
All right, and this is both in and out of district.
If there was a tourism video done for this district area, the #1 thing you'd see here is about parks.
I love it. Tourism video. #1
Always parks mentioned.
first.
I'd like to see them celebrate our natural plants and vegetation.
Hey. Celebrate natural plants and vegetation.
I guess I mean more native. I'm thinking just spectacular gardening displays in my dreams.
Vegetation. I had to go back in the middle of that.
Welcoming for people of all ages, races,
Welcoming
etc.
all ages, races,
Abilities.
Ability.
ability. abilities. Identities,
Income level.
Yeah.
income levels, keep them coming.
I'd like to see every family have a park they could walk to with their kids. That would be a
Yeah.
dream.
Yeah.
Park
For population equality.
family can walk a kid to a park
Yeah.
safely.
Oh, can you underline that one? That one's so important.
Yeah,
I'd love to see an interconnected system of pathways and greenways that interconnects all these parks, so it's a seamless system. I have to get my car to go.
okay. I love it. You get from one park to another on the interconnected pathways and greenways. What else?
I think I want to get back to like park equality. I'd like to see more in my area.
Okay, so
Yes.
let's, can we define
Park distribution equality and funding equality.
park distribution and funding? You want equality or equity?
Yeah.
Equity.
Geographic. And that is about geographic,
And projecting geographics.
okay, current and projected.
I of course have another one.
Yeah, go.
I'd like to see the parks, where the community gathers with like tons of events, tons of community gatherings.
Okay,
Actually, if I could kind of piggyback on that, so there's another thought too. Additionally, the venue space is available at facilities in the Parks District to be clamored for, be competitive.
okay,
With other venue spaces, especially in areas, these areas where we don't have a lot of venue spaces, so. So that may mean they need to be updated or whatever, but make them more competitive.
And multi-functional.
So
I like clamor for. Competitive. And the venue spaces are multifunctional.
Well, that's for question, but you meant clamored for like, that there's only two spaces and there's 12 people, or did you mean the clamoring for, because everybody wants to go?
I don't know what that, the two, but it's sought after venue space being, as a function, yeah, in demand.
So what I heard, it is like, we've got the best venues. and
Absolutely.
people-
Yeah.
And everybody wants it
Precisely.
for venues.
Yeah.
We might have lots and lots and lots of them, but they're still hard to
Precisely.
book because they're so great that
Right.
everybody wants it. Okay.
Really lofty. Oh, do you have one? Really lofty. I want, and this district to be the gold standard for the region.
All right. NCPRD is the gold standard for the region.
We invest a lot.
In what kinds of ways?
Like, it's just the quality of spaces, the quality of venues, the types of programs we provide, quality, theater,
Okay.
events, like, we have tons of events that are
Okay.
spread out throughout the city, the area and connected.
Okay.
And, we think outside the box on how we develop this system, because we are limited in available land.
Okay.
We become the nimble and creative system that other systems look to for that new approach.
Okay,
Again, to
yeah,
piggyback up to the 30,000 foot level here, but and year round. Like, this is not seasonal, this would be every year round, there would be a demand of some sort, so that may be programming or maybe ideas or concepts that are just thrown out, but it's not limited just when the sun's out. 'Cause we've only got 2.5 months of that, so.
yeah. Yeah.
Ben knows this, and
Oh, Ben, yes.
I was gonna say, climate resilient or addresses climate change.
Okay. Climate, so Ben, I'm gonna, resilient is another one of those, that let's turn that to the positive. What do our parks do for our climate?
They are,
Or is it about,
Carbon-
what the parks do for the climate, or is it about, that the parks survive other climate change?
well, they're green spaces that are carbon safe, that offer
Yeah.
shade,
And mitigate.
wildlife
Okay, so
habitat.
mitigate, you want. Okay. All right, so, support habitat and mitigate climate impacts. How does that sound?
I put carbon sink in there too.
Carbon sink, right?
Yeah, okay, carbon, take that one, carbon sink. Carbon sink.
Kind of ripping off that, a
Yep.
place for when we do have natural disasters. Gathering points, like when the earthquake happens. When
Mm,
maybe there's a
got it.
For the elderly to go hang out, children, whatever.
Gathering point for natural disasters.
And kind of jiving off some of these, at least when I remember growing up, I grew up in Portland, where when I was bored, I went to the park.
Mhm.
So it was kind of a place of just boredom. Oh, I have nothing to do. I'm gonna go to the park, meet your friends, maybe play a sport. I guess it's have the parks be first in your mind, or one of the top things in your mind of when you're bored of something to do, an activity.
And I'm guessing that that's an all, even though it happened for you when you were younger, I'm guessing for you that's an all ages thing.
Yes, yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Four different groups.
Yeah.
Katie's good.
Oh, Katie.
I want a community center like Mount Scott Community Center that has roller skating and indoor alternative activities for people. We don't all play baseball, something non-baseball.
Roller skating, indoor activities.
Abundant fields and gymnasium space as well, for any sorts of activities, but. Maybe throw some pools in there too, might as well.
I was gonna say that, I mean, if we wanna start listing.
Yeah, if we're doing this high,
How about some skate parks?
yeah,
How about some dog
sure,
parks?
yeah.
Dog parks.
Skate parks. Dog parks.
I'd love to see a robust public-private partnerships and a direct connection to businesses and parks and recreation. Parks is a economic development tool that a lot of economic development groups do not get because they're narrow-minded. This is not being recorded. But I'd love to see that be the tool we use, economic development, utilizing those public-private partnerships, creating a better system with those types of activities.
I would say prioritize time in nature because of all the research that's been done that shows how that's essential for societal health and well-being. You can put that in fewer words.
How about residents prioritize time in nature?
Okay, and a sort of educational aspect to it where we kind of, it's not like formal education, but just educational opportunities right and left for people to learn about nature.
Okay, informal nature education opportunities. That good?
Sure.
This is like a wish list of water access. I know I don't think I quickly read through that.
Water access. Say more.
Not just for boating, just the pleasure of sitting by the water.
Okay.
With education and opportunity to educate those about how important water is around us. And that it actually is quite scarce. then the aspect of, kind of, it could be a place for like ornithologists to go watch, you know, like, I guess like Microsoft Education. I'm winging it, so
Yeah.
I'm making this up as like.
Yeah, that's what you're supposed to do.
And on that, a big stewardship program, like a community stewardship program, where
Yeah.
we
That was,
have the community actually involved in the stewardship of all these spaces.
oh, so good. Okay.
Well, in that same vein, I studied the San Mateo and Alameda County parks, and they really did it by vision, and they have a lot of people who donated land to fulfill the mission. So if we had it so that people were looking for opportunities, and just down south of here, I forget where, Candy, Malala or somewhere, a senior couple donated 40 acres or something of beautiful forest because they wanted it to be maintained, sustained, and be shared. So that sense of providing a place and the atmosphere where people want to do that.
Right. So land donation, and its, value to, property.
Like a stewardship, like community stewardship and building this ability for those who may have river access or river properties to donate. Is that what you kind of? Okay.
For that or any, yeah. That had river access, but it's just that people feel like.
Right.
That there's a desire to do that.
So what I'm imagining, you know, in that big picture way is people might donate land that has river access, but people might donate a historic building that could be utilized or a variety of things, but instead of intergenerationally transferring it, then transfer it to the park system for the good of all. I like your parks. What are we missing?
Money.
Well,
I think money, one of my parks, abundant funding.
the thing about, in my own research, that the opportunity that people in that donating part, the land trust capacity, I mean, they're.
Okay. Yeah.
Because right now, most land trusts are only for big things, as opposed to, well, I got 2 acres, or I got 12 acres, or I got
Okay.
2 acres.
Yeah.
Well, and I think as our population grows and our landscape shrinks, we can redefine what a neighborhood park might look like in 50 years.
All right.
Doesn't have to be 10 acres.
Uh-huh.
It could be a 3/4 acre. Or, I mean, you know, we have property owners in our neighborhood that own 4 city lots. In a combined property, it's a good chunk of open space in the middle of rows of houses.
I like that in redefining what
What a park
parks and
really
recreation
is,
is.
as we get
Maybe,
denser and denser.
maybe it's not what it has been in the last 30, 40 years. Maybe our area's parks and recreation is different. Maybe it's a different approach.
You know, say, and custom to, this district speeds.
Yeah,
Right, continually evolving.
and informed by the community.
Informed by community, informed by community,
One more thing for you.
hold
That's-
on, continually evolving,
Yes, that,
I got it.
you knew that was coming out. didn't you?
I heard somebody say it, it was important.
Well, in that same vein, the idea of pocket parks, as an example, on Hillside Drive, there is a road right away that's abandoned, and it's right out to the Willamette River, and it's just between 2 houses, and people park their boat trailers there and so forth. It would be a great little pocket park, right on the.
Lots of pocket parks, everyone, that every kid can walk to. Oh, yeah. Connected to pocket parks. I like it. That's a pretty full board.
Okay.
That's a pretty full board. We missed, does anything feel like it, because we'll get stuff along the way. So help me take a look at this board, and what I want to do is, I may have to take pictures of this and erase some of it, but I don't want to erase it yet. So I'm gonna grab my pen. What I want to do is, are there categories here? Are there ways? And I will take pictures of these all before I erase it. And I'll send them to Jessica and they'll be available. So what can help me find some themes here. There's a lot of things up here, but I'm guessing we could get it down to 4 or 5 themes that we would be working towards. Funding, okay.
Not in red.
I took a picture. of it.
Well, I want folks to be able to still look at it for a minute while we're looking at themes.
I think it's funny, but this is very community based.
Mhm.
It's about the community, not about, it's really. It's our community deciding what our community wants
Yeah,
and supporting with stewardship and everything to create a system that is for our community.
yeah, and so let's look at, then all of that is already up here, so let's look at under funding, like, for example, this land donation idea is for funding related to me, right? So how about I do this? Funding is gonna be pink. So, land donation is funding. What other things up here are funding?
London's every day.
Funding, yeah. There's another, there was, this one,
And.
Parks and Economic Development Schools is funding, right?
Public-private partnership.
Public-private partnerships. Were you saying one, Maureen?
No, the
Okay.
partnership, yeah.
Okay.
Didn't you put economic development in there? That's the same thing.
Here it is, economic development is down here. All right, another theme I see, I'm gonna switch to brown for this one. A theme I see is, around the spaces, and there's a lot of stuff around the spaces here. So like, what I'm looking for is, how does like, roller skating connect with fields and pools and venues that everybody wants, right? Does that make sense?
Yeah, amenities on
Yeah, so,
water access.
water access,
Skate parks, dog parks.
skate parks, dog parks.
Oh, well, and the natural areas is it in itself a large amenity. What was the?
Yeah, well, residents prioritize time in nature wasn't, so I'll just add natural areas in here. It's okay, it's up there twice.
Interconnected system, halfway through.
Yeah, that's
Gathering.
Distribution. Yeah,
park distribution, yeah.
gather point natural disasters. Maybe.
Are you holding like the native plants to be separate from what you're on right now?
No, we're not, that's, yeah.
Well, what about the trees and the mitigation? Is that a separate category?
I don't think so, I just, help me find it,
Okay, on the lower left, mitigate climate,
there we go,
and then
carbon sink.
That's not.
abundant trees is
It's
in the
right under
very middle.
abundant funding, right?
Abundant trees is in the right, very middle, okay.
Primary gathering space, because that. Plaza, it's right in front of you there.
Right above abundant funding.
I think.
Well, is that integral to neighborhoods also, space related?
Well, so next, I'm seeing that one is slightly different. I'm gonna walk down there and get another color. What I'm looking around integral to neighborhoods and, like top of mind is how do people think about our parks?
Education and.
Yeah,
There's the next one I think is people.
people. Okay, let's do people. I got two to color.
But what's our word for all the things you just colored brown?
Oh, what is our word? That's about
Amenity
facilities. Is that a good word?
or amenities.
Amenities, okay. Now let's do people. Okay,
Like every family can walk with.
every family can walk,
Welcoming.
welcoming of all ages,
Informed.
for children and adults.
Sweatshops.
That's true. That's functional quality.
Integral to neighborhood.
There's more community events and gatherings over here. Here working down the boards, all I was thinking, right there.
Yeah.
Over to the
Some of the
right.
community events together, it's okay.
Warm.
Everyone knows about service.
Mhm. Actually, so I think I'm gonna break out, kind of the outreach. Right, one is how people, I'm looking at how people interact with parks, and then one is more outreach and
Connectivity,
education.
like
Yeah,
Connect. Yeah.
okay. And some of these will fit more than one category, they don't have to be perfect, so,
Like tourism video.
tourism video is this one, everybody knows about services.
There's a stewardship program. Is that?
Business stewardship
Left.
program is down
Left,
here,
other left,
other left,
stewardship, way up left.
Oh,
there we go.
Residents prioritize time.
Residents prioritize time in parks.
Right underneath the
There's informal nature education opportunities,
year-round demand.
year-round
And
demand.
that could be a several, I suppose.
That's what you business. Thank you. Oh.
All right, so what looks left for me is systems, structures, right? Like. I'm gonna go back to purple. Like, we're the gold standard for the region. Like, how do we get there as a systemic and structural thing? Like nimble and creative.
Well, approach too.
Connected approach, yep, there they are.
I mean, integral to neighborhoods can also be.
Yeah, I was looking, and that was over here,
Right.
yeah.
Wait, what is this, systems?
This is, oh yeah, systems.
Is it, okay,
Well, and you just did safety, we had a gathering point for natural disasters.
Yeah.
I mean, the economic development tools, is that a system creating?
I think
bottom
that-
right?
That's down here. No,
That's
that's
bottom
tourism video. Bottom right, there we go.
I mean, I don't know if that's.
Yes.
Okay.
I think some of them are gonna, of course, flow to several different. But I do think we've got a general categorization system here, and what I'll do is I'll write all this down and I'll put it under this system so that you have that. Looking at time.
This could be a stopping point.
Yeah, I know you have a lot to do with it. I think it would be better to do it slowly than to push you too hard. So next time, when we get back together, we're gonna let's try to do 20 years and 10 years. Because those are getting close. And so what I'll do is I'll write all this up with our 5 categories and all the things you've said. And your job will be to say, what do we have to have accomplished in 20 years for this to be true in 50 years? And then what do we have to have accomplished in 10 years for that to be true in 20 years? And then we'll try to do that for our April meeting. And then in our May meeting, that'll set us up for what do we have to do right now to be set up for this in 5 years? Good?
Yeah.
Okay. Y'all are super fun to work with. I'm gonna leave this up for now until your meeting is done, and then I'll make sure to take this out to you through Jessica.
Thank you.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you for the work you do on my parts.
Oh, I got it. You were down. You're back.
Yeah.
Together.
Well, now we're back. Good.
See, I mean, that's.
So. Yeah, great. Mr. Vice Chair.
I have a suggestion, Mr. Chair. We would want to make up for time.
We're already ahead, we didn't run the full hour.
What?
We are.
Are we?
Yeah,
Okay.
it's not 6:44 yet, the next item is 6:44.
Okay, let's go, let's do it.
So we're now reconvening and we're putting the rules back on and everybody behave again. I don't know what the official thing is, but anyway, we're reconvening. Change of status updates.
Really, most of the status updates that we wanted to highlight, I think, are included in our district monthly report. Again, Milwaukee Bay Park is still on hold until we find out more what's going on with that. Same thing with SDC methodology. Concord, you got your update on the upcoming public meetings. For NCPRD funding, something I just wanted to have you all be aware of, because normally, again, this is fairly rare that we have to do a supplemental budget. But for what we budgeted for this year, we spent more in our transportation and nutrition services at Milwaukee Community Center. So we're having to do a supplemental budget. I believe it's about $150,000 total. Normally, timing wise, we would try and bring that to you as a report before we go to the DAC or before we go to the board. Timing doesn't allow that. So we wanted you to be aware. It's not something we often do, but just to make sure that we're following the audit rule, since we know we're going to overspend in that. And it's for a lot of good reasons. It's for higher numbers. It's for, higher participations. It's for good things, but to follow the financial rules, we've got to do that budget adjustment. So I wanted you to be aware of that.
That's the 22-23 budget.
Yes, this current budget, yeah. And then the only other thing on funding is we are still putting final budget numbers together. Numbers are just still coming in from the county on certain things like allocations and cost of living adjustments. So what I can say right now is I think we've got a good budget draft right now. It's not a growth year. We're not going to be able to grow until we get grow significantly until we get higher, revenues coming in. But we are hopefully offering some different programs and still offering the great ones that we do. But it is, it's not going to be a lot of new stuff this upcoming year. Beyond that, I'll know more once we start submitting stuff putting stuff into the budget. And I meet with Gary, I believe, mid-April on the budget as well. So, and system plan and CIP timeline, nothing's really changed on that. That's really in the monthly reports. Things are moving forward with scope development for the system plan. Other things have taken a little bit of a front seat to that, these more immediate grant opportunities and some other stuff, but it is still moving forward just a little slower. And that's all I've got.
Can I ask a question? On Milwaukee Bay Park, I know some of the funding package for that included some grants, and I wanted to find out where are we in terms of those grants running up against deadlines for using those grants, or those grants expiring?
We've still got a little bit of a cushion. We're not running up against deadlines right now. We will, depending on when decisions are made. But we've got a little bit of a cushion. If you want, I saw your email. I just didn't have a chance to reply to it before. But we can answer it and send an email answer to all of the DAC members on what information we can share, which is really just knowing when expected timelines. There's always, not always, there's often extension availabilities if especially if there's going to be delays. So we are monitoring it, and specifically Heather and her folks are monitoring all of that very closely.
Okay, I'd like to get an update.
Yeah, okay, we'll do that.
Thank you.
Thank you. Anything else on changes, status updates?
That's all I have.
Thank you. Time for public comments. So call for statement from citizens regarding issues relating to NCPRD.
I guess, Chair, normally we're used to them raising their hands in a virtual setting. I guess if there's anybody that wants to make public comment, they would just come up to the dais. And
Right, and I like the way they do with the board of county commissioners, that people in the room get first choice. So have the young lady in the front row. Velma.
Good evening, everybody. My name is Thelma Hagan Miller. I live just down the street here. My kids went to this school. I have told the county commissioners, and I've told you previously, that I am pursuing a Rotary grant for an all-inclusive park someplace on the Concord complex. And I have a meeting set up with Joel, right, and coming up, what, the 21st or something like that, to discuss this. An all-inclusive park, was first introduced to that concept in Redmond. And every time I go to Redmond, which is once a year, I always go down to that park. I just love it. It is so well used, and the abilities that are there are of all different kinds. And I just think that being right in the heart of the lowest part of Clackamas County income area, an all-inclusive park, and I just had to stop out here for somebody to cross the wheelchair this afternoon when I was going someplace, and I think that's very important. And I did meet with a little bit of resistance from Mike when I first brought it up, and that didn't stop me on following through. So I would imagine, I would envision, let's put it that way, that the Rotary grant, if we get it, we're going to talk about it in a week. If we get it, can be used to match some of the other grants that you're going after for the park. So I just wanted to let you all know that I'm moving forward.
Just a quick question about how much is that grant for?
We haven't even discussed money.
Okay.
The Rotary group and I are meeting for the first time, the 21st. 21st, I think it is.
And just to clarify, Thelma, if I may, you're saying all inclusive, this is like an all abilities.
All abilities,
And
different words.
there's actually a terrific, I know the example in Redmond, there's also a really terrific example already in existence in Happy Valley right now that I think local Rotary Club.
They did a
did
Rotary
something there.
grant,
So if you want to see an example of it in the flesh, so to speak,
and there's
local-
one out in North Portland that I've
Yeah,
gone
they're
to
pretty terrific.
see what they've got at the different parks. But each one of them has different things,
Yeah.
different amenities, but they're based on people that don't have the abilities that the general populace has. And they're wonderful, absolutely wonderful. So I think in the low income area particularly, and with a lot of handicapped disability people in this area, and we do have an overabundance of disabled people in this area, that amenity in a park on this complex would be absolutely wonderful. So I told the county commissioners when I spoke to them that I was going to pursue that, and that's what I'm telling you, that we are pursuing it. Joel happens to be on the Rotary. That's all I have to say. Any other questions? I'm fine.
I'd just like to be on the record. At no point has NCPRD or myself discouraged anybody from coming to us with alternative funding. The only conversation that I've had regarding it was in last month's DAC meeting, where I was explaining what funding we were planning on using for the nature-based playground that's being provided by Metro Local Share, that we're asking for Metro Local Share, and that it did not have necessarily a fully inclusive. We do not discourage anybody, or any group or anybody that wants to help raise money for us. So I just want to make sure that everybody's perfectly clear on that. Thank you.
You're welcome. All right, and actually in the letter that we just approved, where I dashed that, it actually speaks to the reality that it is being spoken of as a nature park and all
Yeah.
inclusive. And having them be combined together is great. I know that my last trip to California, we came back up to Crescent City and went out had lunch in a park there, and the All Abilities Park there was just awesome. So
And again, I want to make sure that we are not set, I am being clear in my language. We are going for a nature-based playground that has inclusive elements. We are not looking at a all abilities nature-based playground. That, again, it's very different terminology of what we can probably achieve. I'm not ruling that out, but I'm not promising that either.
Well, if I
We're going to do our
remember,
best.
thanks, but I remember what happened in Happy Valley, was that they already had an existing play area, and then this became supplemental to that.
Yep.
And then.
That's what we hope to do here. Yeah.
Good.
So, currently Hillsborough, the city I work for, is building an all-inclusive play area. The price tag is $14 million.
Mhm.
It's really, really expensive.
They are.
It's necessary, but it's a really, really expensive venture. So.
The Rotary's got lots of money.
Well, to clarify, and this is very preliminary, but as our local, even the Milwaukee Club, this would probably be something along the lines of a Rotary Global Grant, where we would solicit funds from a lot of different Rotary clubs. And yeah, there is a tremendous amount of push behind Rotary International. It's a terrific foundation. Plug it myself, but I mean, yeah, so there's nothing's off the table, but yeah, I think no one's thinking this is a few $1,000 and it's ambitious for sure.
Anyone else here would like to speak? Jessica, do you have anyone in the audience who would like to speak? Okay, and this will close the public comment, and I'll appreciate it. Thank you, John. Next is the DAC member reports.
Okay, from sub area 2, I'm getting some input from people about the Concord project, saying that and this will be controversial, but I'm gonna say it. Some people would like fewer parking places, more orientation to multimodal that doesn't involve cars, and possibly work out a deal with Bellevue Medical. Next door, they close every day at 5. They're closed every weekend. That's a lot of parking places. And it could be similar maybe to what happened with TriMet, where the light rail station made a deal with the Elks Club for overflow parking. So I think it's something to consider to get more parkland and fewer parking spaces.
Well, I would say I wondered when I pulled up tonight and the parking lots were full, was I parking in a bike lane out there? I mean, I wonder if parking on this street is actually kosher parking. You know, so I think.
Yeah, planning and zoning is gonna really dictate a lot of what our requirements are gonna be for 2 public buildings, really, because that's what we're having the design for, is both a library and a center that both, are gonna have traffic. We see just a couple of programs plus this meeting, how but that's 42 spots versus the, I believe, 180 that is in the new plan. So we're not gonna have a lot of ability to make choices of saying, well, we only want 100 spots and we'll make do with that and use the rest for planning or for parking land. That's gonna be dictated through really through our conditional use application process and the rest of the planning process as it moves forward. We are trying to not pave paradise to put in a parking lot and keep it as realistic and reasonable as possible, but we do have requirements
Right.
from planning.
I know the formula used to be more parking than what it is now, that the formula is going through some adjustments.
Yeah, and I've already talked with staff on, looking at alternative parking lots, whether it's across the street or, even on big events, having to shuttle people from the Walmart lot down at the bottom of the hill, those are all mechanisms that try and keep, large events, but we definitely need to have enough parking for day-to-day regular use of those two facilities.
Regarding the Walmart, when I spoke with you or I asked you the question of what was happening with Walmart in terms of purchasing, you said you couldn't comment because it was active and
Sure.
legal, something.
Good
Is there
update.
anything you could say about that? in
Yeah,
terms of
nothing is finalized yet, but we are looking at moving forward with the easement, that was the alternative, so we had an original purchase or plan to purchase this little strip of property, along the edge that's owned by Walmart. Walmart came back and said, we don't sell property, we'd be willing to offer you an easement. We're negotiating kind of the terms of the easement and make sure that it's advantageous for us and not gonna be limiting on our ability to do stuff. So that's the direction it's moving. I haven't, actually heard back yet from Walmart on whether they're saying, we're good on those conditions. But it's still in the works and I anticipate it's gonna be an easement.
Just for clarification, that's just the part that's behind the building physical, but not any of the part that's farther to the north.
It's just the little bitty strip that's along the edge, over here that, so it's not the chunk that you're, I think referencing. This is just a little strip that was part of the original plan to purchase, to essentially allow for the pathway to come through the circular, trail. A portion of that, is gonna go through there. But it was really just to give us the access to that property that where we did not have it, we would have had to rerouted stuff. And then there's the problem of we've got this undeveloped little strip of land that already has had, issues and problems with both dumping and, human occupation and things like that in the past. So we would much rather have the property outright, but Walmart just won't sell to us. So we're moving forward with these. And as that develops, we'll bring in more.
Okay. Any more?
This is it says reports, but is this also just a general place to ask questions? Because I don't see a general place on the agenda for questions.
This is where I know that Joel usually makes announcements, they're gonna be questions.
It's not always me.
I said usually.
No, I'm just kidding. I have an announcement, but I don't want. Excuse me, I wanted to remind everyone, pardon me, the Housing and Senior Services Fair is actually happening tomorrow at the Milwaukee Community Center from 10 to noon. It's a great opportunity to check out a lot of vendors all in one spot. I know that's in our report, but it's worth mentioning here. We're also in the midst of the March for Meals fundraising campaign to support the Meals on Wheels program and nutrition program at the Milwaukee Community Center. Very easy to donate. And actually, I know I mentioned this at the last meeting, but if you all have or know of a business that may want to put up their virtual collection can, it's really just a QR code on a flyer, and they would love it if you could put some of those up. If you need information on that, let me know, or contact Junia at the foundation. And then finally, we enjoyed 1 full month of a full board, and now we are down a member. We had someone resign actually officially as of our last meeting, so we actually have a vacancy on the Clackamas County Advisory Board to the Milwaukee Community Center Committee, that we're meeting actually this Friday at 9:30 at the Milwaukee Community Center. If anyone's interested or knows someone that may want to check out the meeting and see what goes on there, it's a great opportunity to do that, and we're actively recruiting a new member. That's it.
AM, Joe. AM.
AM, what did I say, PM?
You said 9:30 AM.
Oh.
You never know.
No. PM, or AM, excuse me, yes.
The meeting starts at 9:30. Oh, drinks must be included.
Yeah. Show up the night before, yeah, no, it's.
So if you want to ask questions.
Well, I will make a couple of announcements too, following Joel. Saturday, as I announced last month, there's a group that works in Mentor Springs every second Saturday, and that's this Saturday. So if anyone wants to come out to Mentor Springs, it's on 37th across from across behind the new Planet Fitness, and it's an amazing little wetland. If you've never seen it, I definitely recommend. Great bird watching.
What time do you gather?
So 9:30 to noon.
9:30.
9:30 to noon,
And-
the second Saturday of every month. It's the Wetlands Conservancy and the Milwaukee Parks Foundation that have been working there for 4 years now. This time of year, we did some planting, in January. This time of year, it's mostly about trying to remove blackberry and clematis and stuff like that. And trash. There's some camping that happens there, and there's some trash in there, but it's been much better in the last couple of years, once we started working in there.
It's a wetland, so you kind of need boots or something, or?
You just want to wear shoes, you don't mind getting muddy, but you're not gonna be wading or anything. There's a path, there's a kind of a berm with a path and stuff. And also on Saturday, the Leading Library is holding a repair fair, which is where they have volunteers who come fix small appliances, material repairs, bicycles, fabric things, sewing. So it's an open to anyone, free kind of event from, I think it's 10 to 1 at the Leading Library. So my question, for Michael is, it's sort of this exercise pointed to it, and I also got I was interviewed by a consultant for you guys about sort of, where goes the district? And I guess I wanted to find out, I know in the past there've been things in the minutes or in the meeting materials that I haven't seen in the last few months, but about going to the county board with a measure to set up an independent.
That's what you were contacted about is,
Yeah.
so we are under a contract right now with a consulting firm to begin polling, and they started polling with stakeholder interviews. So that was what you were invited to. That's going to be followed up with some focus group meetings, and then ultimately there will be a community polling to try and get some good statistically validated data, answering a variety of questions. And I'm going to try and dance around because I am not part of the unbiased question developing part, but really asking the question that I was told from literally even before I started here. One of the desires is to look at governance change again. And so the question that we're trying to answer is, does the district support or does the district residents support the idea of governance change? Very non-specific. Notice I didn't say a governance change with any conditions, just supporting governance change. There will be some questions that help refine that. The general idea is, and this was what was reported in the first quarter or the last NCPRD board meeting, is that, we hope to, and by our schedule with the contract, have results back by end of April, beginning of May. If we have, at that point, we would be needing to go back before the board. I can't even predict right now what we will be going back to them with, but what we had talked about was essentially at that point, there could be a go, no go decision that needs to be made by the board. If there's support or if there's not, or if there's support, but to wait until a certain time, there could be a lot of different results. The idea is we need to do that sooner rather than later if the recommendation is that we should move forward, as it was discussed at the board meeting, of a vote in 2023, which would really mean this upcoming fall, theoretically, as a possible. There's several moves, and we're trying to be strategic in with our consultant, because they're both helping us with strategy for the polling, but also strategy on placement of ballot initiatives that might happen. So everything is kind of fluid right now, but that is the purpose of trying to find out from the district residents, is there support for us to move forward with a governance change, creating a 266 park district along the lines of what THPRD, Willamette Lane, et cetera. So a district that's not attached to Plaquemines County. That's about all the update we've got, because it's all going on right now.
Okay. And, it sounds like it will still be going on a month from now. But will we get, whatever you send to the board on this?
That's a good question. Because this is really much more of a policy issue, I will have to check on what is brought in, and some of it is going to be timing too, with, when we need to have things before, because ultimately the next step would be a series of policy sessions with our NCPRD board. We're gonna have to get direction on that, because again, it's not, it'll be we're not going to be providing a lot of interpretation. We're gonna be getting a report from a consultant making a specific recommendation. That may be done as just a policy meeting at the board level. I'm not sure yet.
And, in our brainstorming, Anna made the point of needing more than 54 cents per thousand. Is that a separate question for a separate day than the board structure, than the governance structure? Or
Not
is that
necessarily.
needs to go together?
No, so, I mean, and again, at a public meeting, I'm trying not to get into a lot of the strategy that we're working on, because stuff changes and I'm held to whatever I say in a public meeting. So the idea is we're asking a variety of questions. Would you support X, which may be just separation, no tax increase, but with a future potential for a local option levy? Do you support separation with a moderate tax increase to the base rate with maybe a smaller future local option levy? Again, nobody's saying we don't need more money. Where I'm trying to look at is what decisions are we trying to reach? Is it more important to be a separate government entity and then go for additional monies? Is there even the will, if we were to try and get a separation with a tax increase, is that even feasible? And right, just kind of the natural assumption before we even get data was that's obviously less feasible than potentially, just a straight separation without. But those are all things that are really in play right now that I can't speak to any specifics, because we don't even have specifics. I try not to presuppose a lot of stuff. I really am trying to rely on, we spend a lot of time trying to figure out statistical validity and margins of errors on the results that'll be coming in from the polling, and really rely on that. We are trying to make sure that we're asking the right questions, but we don't develop those questions. Those are the non-biased questions that are asked by the consultancy. Does that make sense? Okay.
Thank you.
Any other reports?
I kind of have a question. So it's like, sorry, I'm a millennial who's not addicted to my phone, so I apologize for being late. I thought it was 6 o'clock. It's 5:30. I just checked. Apologies to everyone. So how can we hold the community and know whether they actually want this change in terms of governance for NCPRD? If from my standpoint as a community member, don't feel we have great communication bi-directionally as to what's actually happening. Was that a involved question? Or
Well, we're gonna, that's what we're finding out. I'm trying to go off of the basic assumption that everything that's talked about in groups and in staff are guessing. We're guessing how people would respond. I want to do a statistically validated process that gives us a good solid margin of error that says, the answer very well may be people aren't ready yet. That's part of what we're trying to find out. I'm not trying to presuppose any outcome beyond we're asking the questions. And if the answer comes back that, hey, all the respondents said, I don't have enough information to even make that decision, then that's the information that we get. If we get information that says, people support this, but without this, or this with this, then that's the information that's going to be presented. So I'm trying to manage the process. We're trying to get a good result that is unbiased, that is truly based on community input with good statistical validity. In other words, random sampling, minimum numbers of respondents to reach that validity. So I'm trying not to presuppose. You very well may be right. If the impression amongst the people that are selected to take the poll say that there's not enough information for them to decide, then that's just as good information as coming back saying it's really, really supported or really, really not. We just need to wait until that comes back, which again, that's what we're hoping is going to be around end of April, early May, I believe is the target.
I can continue. So, one of the things, Gerben and I, we're going to combine, get a mailing list. So back to this question, I feel that there's poor communication and dissemination of information. So you're gathering a mailing list, combining the library mailing list with the active mailing list, whoever has it that is gathered with others. So the call on this, could we combine multiple lists that people have in their possession to actually build or instantiate or create more of this communal field of information being exchanged? Because at least where I sit, like, I'm not saying mailers might be effective for some, phone calls might be effective for others, emails might be effective for others, knocking on doors might be effective for some. But I think we as a community, as a group, and as this group of people need to try a little more in terms of getting a list or multiple ways of contacting people. So like, for example, the outreach taking place with the Jennings Lodge property. Could that information or how the methods you're contacting people or it like their phone numbers, emails, however it's being done, could that be shared so that we can start showing that maybe if NCPRD is willing to share this information, other groups might be willing to add to that list. So not only benefits you, but benefits that group in getting information out there. I understand there might have to be some sort of gating community or curation, so no one's spamming, hate over this list, but I would like to participate in a group that is improving its methods of communication, and I feel we're lacking there.
Can I respond first?
Yeah.
I'm never, this district, the administration, myself, I'm never going to say you guys can't go and do whatever outreach you guys want to do. That's part of the idea of the sub areas of being able to do that. What I can say is I can't take a group of opinions from a group of listserv people and use that as statistical data. That is informative.
Yeah.
But it's part of what we're also in Heather, if you're available, if you could just give me a nod. I believe that both, I want to make sure I'm not getting it confused with other community outreach. We're going to have our statistically validated survey that's gone and randomly sampled. We're still doing a corollary community one as well, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
We'll be doing a community-wide survey that anyone can respond to. It just won't be statistically significant if we post it online.
So if this community outreach goes out via email, right? Could that email list be available to add to other mailing lists that the NCPRD group itself is trying to build? So could we work together in building a contact list? So we
not off of the randomly sample. Again, we've got to be very careful on statistical validity and keeping that process pure. So as far as combining the contact lists, I mean, we've got contact lists. None of those are hidden. Now, I do want to make sure I'm checking on what we can share.
Privacy issues.
Yeah, there's privacy issues of what we collect and what we can share. But as far as the contact list of the people who were randomly sampled to take the survey, absolutely not. We won't be sharing that. I won't even know who they are. It is sampled through the company. They send them out. If they need 400 and they send out 1,000 and they get 300, then they work to get those extra 100. We don't know who they are. So I understand what you're saying. The possibility is there, just not in this avenue for a random sample statistically validated process. We have other lists and you can combine that. We just need to find out. Yeah, please reach out to me and we'll figure that out.
Cool. I don't think that's fun. This is an issue that plagues all districts. Getting the word out, connecting to the community, and not just the community groups that are specifically interested in their specific interests, but to the whole community. There's groups that there's parts of the community that just don't really care. They just go to the park and do the thing. So what I've seen living here since 2014 is I've seen a consistent drive to being more and more and more communicative. Getting to this place where all 108,000 people, 108,000, yeah, get a mailer. First of all, a mailer is about 30.
Yeah, yeah.
It's outrageously expensive. Most of the budget would go to one mailer. So that's the difficulty is how do we get the message out? What, we can't just grab our own mailing list and give it to them. People actually have to actively sign up
Opt-in.
because there are a lot of legal issues. And I struggle with that with my planning processes. I'm like, I've gotten a list up to 10,000. That's amazing for a 220,000 population of the city. So that's the struggle we have. So the more we can figure out how do we get the message out, how do we make the Parks District right up there, the gold standard in the region, because everybody is actually interested in this district. That's the key. We can go out and talk to our own individual groups. They do not represent the whole community. My group of LGBTQ people, they represent one chunk of the overall community. They do not represent the families, the straight families down the street. So we also have to be careful that our individual groups, we think represents the whole community. It doesn't. So we have to figure out a way together. How do we get that word out? Where do we get that word out? So that they can individually sign up and opt in. And that's really, really, really tough.
But I do think if Heather, if they're sending out an online survey,
Yeah.
then that email, everyone can spam that out to everyone they know.
Well, and that's why it's not statistically valid.
Right.
But what winds up happening, the beauty behind a little method behind the madness is we have our statistically validated survey. It's asking a set of questions to a specific set of folks that have gotten it. We go out and we do a community survey that asks those same questions, but it is open to anybody. And yeah, random groups can go and try and have all, you know, if it's a football issue, the entire football team goes and, you know, takes the test. We can see that though. You can see those spikes, but what you typically see is the statistically validated survey often maybe not parallels, but has a lot of parity to the community survey. So it's a way to validate even more the statistically validated one if you see that the results are coming in from all the other folks that have taken it, and you can see the variations and see the differences. And there's a lot of insight that can be gained from that.
And those statistically valid surveys are becoming exponentially expensive.
They're very exciting.
Because you have to then get cell phones that have opted into receiving. So they used to be 10,000, now they're 40,000. Anyway, so that's just to give perspective. And I worry about having specific interest groups dominating what our park system is going to look like.
Well, I got comment on a couple of those things. One, the thing about, you send it out, like you said, and you send out 1,000 and you get 300 or whatever the numbers you use. There's been a lot of studies that say those who choose to answer have self-selected themselves to not be a statistically random sample. That's piece one.
Yeah.
Piece two, I know that the databases that first of all, I've been on this problem for 44 years, and it is not any different now, and it's not any more successful, and the technology hasn't made it any better. But all of the people on our contact list are all people who either expressed by their own voluntary interest that they're interested in libraries or they're interested in parks. Those two, and by the way, there's an overlap. So it isn't just a particular group of people that hang out or do a particular thing and go to a bar or have a sport in common or any kind of, but it is, and those are the two subjects that I'm most involved in. And so I'm trying to find, and one of the reasons we've set up the sub-area group the way we did, and we are very slowly being able to, but if we had like originally designed, every sub-area had its own neighborhood parks board. Okay, Milwaukee has one, the rest of us don't. We have maybe an occasional friends of group, but they don't have a lot of structure. But what we can get to that there actually is twice a year. Each sub area has a community meeting. The community, the people who live in that area have a chance to talk. It's free flow sometimes, talking sometimes, and they get to talk to the people who represent them. So it's a two-way communication. That's where we're headed. And it isn't about sampling, and it isn't about a particular subset other than geography. Exactly the only thing, and people who are willing to come to things that we're in. So I don't have the answer, but I just want to say that's why.
And that's a part. I mean, again, that's the communities, you know, individual, that's a part. You remember, we're also engaging in assistance plan and we're asking, we're gonna have another statistically validated process asking about the entire district
Right.
and its operations and its parks and its acquisitions and its land management and its trails. And so 2-3 years from now, we won't be having conversations of, well, we think, or we presume. I'm gonna be saying, based on the systems plan and the statistically validated needs assessment, here's what the community has told us. And we'll have adopted that because that's what we need to use to plan forward. Doesn't mean that the community input every 6 months. It doesn't have the ability to adjust things. But we're gonna have a much more clear strategic plan layout to move forward, completely based on the input that we get from the residents. So.
And is that also happening this year?
Yes, that's going, that's what I was saying
That's also
earlier.
on here.
Well, we're developing the scope for the
Oh,
contract
okay,
right now.
so,
Yeah.
okay, yeah.
Okay, well, I can talk about this all night.
Yes, and you,
We're
just
over
as
time.
you are over.
So, any other?
Sorry, this is kind of a housekeeping deal, but in light of the fact that the NCPRD Board of Directors is now resuming their quarterly meetings, I know the DAC has a standing report on that. That happens next week, the next quarterly meeting. I just want to remind everyone in the DAC that Grover, or whoever our chair is obviously the voice of that. And we should take that opportunity to make sure Grover knows what we want to make sure we're represented as. I know Grover could fill up his 10-minute slot, no sweat without that, but also I think he would be welcoming any of our input for that as well. And so maybe that could be a standing agenda item on our, moving forward on our, maybe the month before these quarterly reports, so we can kind of get our head into that space. But I think it'd be valuable to make sure that we all have an opportunity to let whoever our chair is, Grover, in this case, noted, hey, this is something we want to make sure is important and brought to the attention of the board of directors. So
Thank you.
that was it.
And I greatly appreciate you saying that, because all I can report is what people share with me. So, okay, any other? Yes, ma'am?
I just want to say that what I sent out to everybody late in the day today, I think really applies to this. It's a bunch of links, a lot of them from the Trust for Public Land, but I found it to be wonderful reading. I enjoy it very much. It's quite readable material, so you might want to look at it.
EPA has the environmental justice as well, which is good.
Oh, yeah, I'm sure other people, yeah, send links around,
Right.
things that relate to our project, here, our visioning.
I had the good fortune to get to watch the Portland Parks Foundation, and they had a phenomenal thing, and I would like to share that link with the DA.
Everybody.
It's now available. It's an hour and a half, and they have 3 consultants, and they talk about how you include who the stakeholders are and define the stakeholders. I was inspired. So
Community engagement, right?
it was all about community engagement and from about time and or space and or there's all kinds of, anyway, enough on that. We're running over. Anything else on month report? Okay. I just want to, before Heather and Melina and all this, we just thank you all for your great reports and the work that backs it up. So I appreciate it. I feel that the communication is I soak it up and thank you for that. So we're usually gone by the time we get to this part. And thanks for sticking it out. Anybody else last comments?
I will just say, this in the back of the room, Joe Loomis is helping Milwaukee, or helping NCPRD come into the pickleball world, and I appreciate that because we have no pickleball courts anywhere in the district. And Joe's working on helping that, so, and I'm volunteering for some of that.
Yeah, I saw that in the notes here, because they're gonna be doing it here. Yeah.
They don't have achieved accuracy. It's happening. We've been doing it.
Cool.
It's happening.
All right.
Well,
Good of the order. Is there any further
I
business?
can accept the motivators for.
You're adjourned.
Oh, nice.
Well,